Hi, I'm Ben Kendall. I'm the paint supervisor at Aero Marine Services. We're a 330 ton capacity yard, and we landlock the boats using a travel lift, and we're able to have up to 15 to 20 boats up at a time. And we're 40 employees in our facility, and we're a full service shipyard.
Ben, where are you located?
We're in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada.
Do you guys blast anything other than boats?
Yeah, we do the odd tank job and other things for internal in our company and for other customers, but primarily we're a shipyard working on marine vessels.
Okay. And like you said, the size of the operation is up to 330 tons per vessel, which is pretty big.
We can do any mid-sized tugboat, but any of the big tractor tugs that they're going to inside the harbor, we're incapable of lifting them because they're about 400 tons and above.
As far as what you guys initially bought from 10X, was KinetiX 2070, I think, is that right?
Yeah, so we were using a different product in our yard, already hit us up and offered us a trial bag, and we started about 2 years ago with the 2070 Dynamic.
2 years ago now. That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the concerns you or the organization, if it wasn't just you, had in terms of why are we looking at a different abrasive, or why are we even looking at an abrasive to begin with?
Yeah, so when I took over at this company, their primary things was looking at numbers. So they would go with the cheaper media because they thought it was saving them money. So I switched them from coal slag when we first started, and I switched them to a different product that was more environmentally friendly. And then when I came across 2070 and what it does compared to other medias and the fact that it ends up being cheaper, we made the switch and we haven't turned back. But the main thing for our company is being environmentally friendly because we're a green marine facility. So going to the DynamiX 2070 really aligned with our corporate structure.
And just to clarify, I think you meant KinetiX because you guys went to KinetiX first, right?
We were on, yeah, KinetiX, sorry. So we ran the KinetiX, and we went from using 40 tons of the other media per job, maybe 30 tons, to about 10 tons of 2070. And the 2070 on top of that, on top of using less of it, which lowers our environmental footprint, we're actually able to save a lot of time in cleaning the vessels of sand because we were using so much less. And then obviously the fact that all your medias are carcinogen free and biosoluble. And that was one of the biggest selling points for our company because we do have other trades in our shipyard. And when we are sandblasting, there is a small amount of dust that lands out in the yard. So having the dust in the yard be safer for the guys was a really, really big selling point for the company.
So let's just talk about KinetiX for a minute, because you gave us essentially a review of the product after a year before, and this is essentially the update to that. And then we're going to also talk about the new product, DynamiX, that you guys actually got. Because we're such good partners, you were able to get some of that material before it was commercially released in February, which is really cool. Hopefully nobody's too jealous of that. But tell us essentially a recap of that first year you used KinetiX, from before you switched to any 10X product to the end of that first year. I think you guys doubled the number of boats you did. If you could say how much money in terms of annual profit, it would be great if you could just kind of recap what that first year was like, not just financially, but also like, did it allow you guys to check off other goals because of the impact it made to your operation? So essentially how that first year went for you.
Yeah, so the first year with 2070 was learning curves in one sense with the metering. And after the first few hours when we got our metering on, I was absolutely shocked with the production of the 2070. Obviously, being able to sandblast boats faster means that we can put paint on faster, and that the overall timeline on the vessels went from normally it was about 2 months from top to bottom painting and blasting, and we got it down to a month. So we were able to almost double the amount of blast jobs we were doing in that year. And then not only were we doing more jobs, we were doing jobs at a higher standard of quality because of the lack of contaminants in your guys' media. Also, the fact that we were able to clean the boats faster. So clean our blast shed faster because we weren't shoveling 40 tons of media. The year with KinetiX, it was baffling, really, for the first year. And it was absolutely outstanding to see my goals and my things I've wanted to be able to produce in the industry basically came into fruition because of our relationship with you guys. And it's been an amazing thing.
In terms of results, how many boats did you do the year before, and then how many boats were you able to do the year after? What was that impact?
I basically took over the blasting, and it was only about 3 to 4 months after I took over as the supervisor here when I came into contact with Brendan from Already, and I switched onto it. But the year before of the doubling of the vessels was from the old crew that was here before. So they were averaging a boat every 2 months, and we got it down to a month, and now we're down to about 3 weeks now.
Okay, and when you say down to that, that means what on an annualized basis?
It basically means the boat comes in, it's covered, it's sandblasted and painted in 3 weeks, and then leaves the blast shed.
So from start to finish, you brought it down from 2 months to a month, and then actually got it from 1 month down to actually 3 weeks.
Yeah, and the 3 weeks has been a recent thing with obviously the new product, utilizing its faster speed.
Okay, so we got another substantial jump by going to DynamiX. As far as like profitability of the work you're doing, before you brought 10X in to just going to KinetiX, what did that mean for you and your crew and the local organization? I understand you're part of a bigger company, but I mean more of like your operation.
Our company is primarily a trucking company. We're the only marine division of the company. So we're kind of the unicorn of the company. But the way that DynamiX really spiked our profitability was that most people, when they start a sandblasting job, they'll look at how much media they need and they'll go with the cheaper media because they think they're saving money. But in turn, that cheaper media exponentially raises your labor costs, and your labor costs will supersede the cost of the faster and better media. So we're using the KinetiX at that time, and we were saving money on jobs by using a more expensive media. And that's something that really sounded with me. And obviously coming into contact with you and Ed and everyone else from your company and the wealth of knowledge you guys had, we sat down and actually cracked our numbers. And I can't give the exact number per square footage that we are, but I know that it basically lowered and it was cut in half, if not more.
Your cost per square foot for blasting, we improved that by at least 50% with KinetiX then.
Yes.
Awesome.
And blasting faster with a higher quality blast with a more uniform anchor profile as well.
So higher quality, faster, cleaner, completely healthy.
And more environmentally friendly.
Yeah, I mean, it's that super win, right? We're covering all the bases and then some. I think that's awesome. So now if we fast forward to, that's what you guys got to do with KinetiX, right? We've been developing a new product. It is made of the same material, but we were working on and experimenting at the factory and then developing a product specifically for industrial blasting. And we'd call what you do absolutely industrial blasting, right? I'm not talking about like cars and like thin sheet metal or, you know, car wheels or something like that. That's more epic stuff. I'm talking deck plating on a ship or an aircraft carrier or the side of a hull for marine or blasting rail cars or big tanks, things like that. Truly industrial blasting, where we want a little bit more profile than what KinetiX would afford us. And there's some unique challenges, shall I say, where sometimes you have to blast at really terrible angles. There's lots of challenges there. So why don't we talk a little bit about that, right? When you got DynamiX and you first tested it, there was one thing, but now that I think you've been able to use it for at least a month, maybe 2 months now. Is that right?
Yeah.
So in that time, what have you been able to do? Like, I understand there's some financial benefits, but I'm more after, for the moment, how did that help you operationally? What was your reason for saying, oh, wow, I like this product more, at least for these applications? Can you help us understand that?
So in industrial blasting, normally every coating you're going to be dealing with is at 12 mils minimum. 12 mils and above, you know, we get up towards of on some of the underwater, the hulls that have been recoated 4 or 5 times, we're talking about 100 mils of paint. So in order to get that paint off, it's quite difficult. As soon as we tried the DynamiX, we had a boat. It was quite thick of paint. I believe it was 30 to 40 mils thick on the hull. And one thing I noticed with the DynamiX right away was when I was in the cooler section of the boat and the keel coolers, that I was able to blast on a very slight angle and basically remove all the paint in between the channel coolers. And also going to the actual speed of the blast, the DynamiX has a way of removing the product at 25% faster than even KinetiX was able to do. So switching to the DynamiX, you guys got me kind of shocked when I switched to the 2070, and then going to the DynamiX, I was shocked again because I was very, very captivated that you guys were able to speed up production even more than you guys already had. So we were averaging about a month per blast and paint job on a boat. Now that's top to bottom from the mast to the keel. And now we've got it down to 3 weeks. My goal is to have it at 2 weeks. And that is something that I've been working towards for the better part of 10 years. And doing this with only one shift as well.
You think you'll get there with DynamiX now?
I think we're very close to getting there. I think maybe another 4 to 5 months of tweaking ourselves. I do have 2 younger blasters that are under me as apprentices right now that I'm training. So it's been a bit of a learning curve for them. But I noticed right away when they were learning how to blast with 2070, having that proper angle that 2070 really needs was hard for a junior blaster. But when with DynamiX, I noticed that it exponentially sped up the more not veteran blasters. So it was very impressive to see the production speed up for the guys that were beginning their journey in sandblasting.
That's awesome. It sounds like you're going from a month to 3 weeks with DynamiX. I guess we'd call it maybe the versatility of the product is quite a bit higher, right? It's able to do more things and in less than ideal situations.
Yeah, like the DynamiX can achieve amazing removal speeds at non-ideal angles. So instead of having to be on a 20-degree angle and having the one side of your pattern of your blast pattern hit the material before it, DynamiX tends to shatter off the paint almost like a 1630 blend would, but at the same time, the DynamiX is cleaning all the pockets of the fine particles of rust that are embedded in the substrate. It's basically like getting the best of 2070, but the best out of a more coarse media. Now, myself, I never tried the coarser version of KinetiX, but I know that the 2070 would give us an ideal anchor profile about 3. I could average about 3 to 3.5 with it. But using a lot of the products we do use, they require a 4 mil anchor profile. And now getting that with DynamiX is a lot faster, and there's no going back and blasting a deeper anchor profile into the substrate anymore. So we're able to clean the vessel, remove every particle of rust off of the vessel and paint at a single pass compared to having to do a half pass like we would have to do with other medias. And the benefit of using 10x engineered materials is you're dealing with a non-contaminated media. So now the substrate stays clean for weeks on end.
And you got that same result with KinetiX and DynamiX, or did you notice a difference with one of them?
I noticed that DynamiX actually, because it's a coarser media, it reorganizes the surface and it actually removes rust faster, even in the pockets, than the 2070 did. And I thought that was kind of shocking because 27 is a finer media and I thought it would do better in that area. But the Dynamic has a way of shattering the rust off in big sheets and then cleaning it while it's actually shattering it. The only problem I've had with DynamiX is keeping up to my pattern.
Is that more of just it's faster than what you're used to, or what is
It's
it?
not. It's like the best problem I've ever had in my life because it sped me up. It just had to basically, when I'm sandblasting, I'm always staying to my pattern. But I find with DynamiX, I'm trailing the paint more because in my pattern, it goes so fast. I have to move the nozzle basically to keep up with how fast it's going. Because if I just go side to side, I'm over blasting areas because it's already been cleaned from the first pass. So it definitely changed the way I blast myself. And as a veteran blaster, I was able to adapt immediately to it. But it definitely sped our blasting up 25% as a minimum. And in the more technical parts of the boat, like sea chests, inner bulwarks and these things, it's even speeding it up faster. I don't have an exact number, but it's shocking for me being in this industry for as long as I have, seeing the removal rate that I'm getting now. It's something that I've always wanted. It's faster than any product I've ever used.
And as far as DynamiX versus KinetiX, you're saying it's 25% faster than KinetiX, which was already essentially doubling your productive output. So on an annualized basis, do you expect DynamiX to further drive down that cost per square foot or increase your operations profitability? What's your guess?
I haven't had the time because it's only been 2 months to run it because we do quarterly reviews of what we're doing. But from what I've witnessed on the boat that we just did, we started on the superstructure of a vessel. I still use 2070 when I'm near a lot of sensitive equipment. So like the top of a wheelhouse with all the radar and all that. But we employed DynamiX. We covered the vessel really good on this. We started sandblasting this vessel on Sunday, and it is Wednesday today. And the vessel was finished by Tuesday and painted Tuesday night.
Wow.
So normally
awesome.
that would be at least a full week of sandblasting with even 2070, really.
So big impact on reducing the time it takes to get the same area done. What about the consumption? Have you been able to measure that at all?
So the consumption on average out of a standard 6 cubic foot pot, we normally would fill the pot and we normally would get about an hour and a half per pot. With the DynamiX, we're getting basically an extra, I have to say about an extra 30 minutes to 40 minutes of blasting because we're able to run it a little bit higher on the metering valve, but because the coarseness of the media, it runs a little bit slower in the metering valve. It's just one of those things where I don't have exact numbers on that yet, but definitely I noticed it when I was blasting because my hopper holds 2 1-ton bags, and I've definitely noticed that I'm getting a full 2 days of blasting, if not 2 days and a bit out of those 2 bags now.
And that's with 2 nozzles going, right?
And that's running a number 7 XL nozzle with the Terra valve or a good metering valve, basically being able to have that metering valve dialed in.
So DynamiX is going to make a big difference then. What would you say though, as far as like enabling you to work in a bit of a different way? You mentioned the apprentices who are learning, that it sped them up, and that's really great, right? If we have an inexperienced blast crew, we can help them get up to speed sooner. When I say up to speed, I mean literally they're producing at a rate that with KinetiX you'd need a more experienced crew.
Decks get recoated and recoated and recoated and recoated. They very rarely will remove the aluminum oxide that are on the decks. So on the boat we were on, we had a deck paint about 30 to 40 mils of paint with aluminum oxide, 16 grit size particles in it. And I've never seen a product remove it as fast as Dynamic was able to remove it. I measured the deck. Normally we get about 40 to maybe 50 square feet per hour at most. And that's running very high on the media. DynamiX, I didn't change my metering at all. And I was able to achieve 85 square feet per hour, which is outstanding. And in some spots, we were achieving in the flat spots where we were able to get our pattern and be standing, we were getting almost 100 square feet.
Wow.
That is literally the best I've ever seen. And I've never, steel shot can't even do that.
And that's on essentially thick non-skid that's got multiple coatings on it, right?
Yeah, so it's probably been overcoated. Like originally when the decks are produced, they will have 12 mils of epoxy on them. And then they'll have the sacrificial color coating above those epoxies, which is epoxy normally as well, with the non-skid in it. But the vessels we work on, we're a repair facility. So sometimes these vessels have been painted upwards of 15 times, recoated on the decks. So you can imagine how thick that paint is.
Yeah, that's huge. All right. Well, Ben, I appreciate this. I just got a couple other quick questions for you. This one is probably a no-brainer, but I'm supposed to ask you if you would recommend 10X to friends and colleagues.
Anyone that I've had a relationship with the glass industry is on 10X already because they've contacted me and I've shared this wealth of knowledge that I've learned with you guys. And I would recommend 10X to even my competitors because it's a safer product and it's basically one of the very few times in our industry where there's advancement. So it's faster, safer, and does everything better than the other medias. And it's doing it while saving you money. So I hope everyone in the industry switches to it to make the industry safer.
I really appreciate that, Ben. Thank you. That means a lot. I just need to know or get you to clarify whether or not this is like a paid testimonial, if you could explain that.
No, I've never been paid by you guys in any way. My biggest thing by why I put the effort in with you guys and I do these videos and I help you guys in any way I can is because I want this product, I want the message of this product to get out to people, because I suffered from eczema for the majority of my life. And being a sandblaster, I would have very ugly feet, very ugly boils on my hand. And since I switched to 10X, I have not had one breakout of eczema. So it's made a big change in my life personally. And it's basically helped me to the point where I want to help out other people that are having the same problem that I've had.
Well, I appreciate that. Ben, is there anything else that you would like anyone to know about 10X, the product itself, DynamiX, KinetiX? Any comments before we wrap it up?
The biggest thing that I found that was the selling point for me was obviously the speed. If you guys are going to try DynamiX or KinetiX or any of the 10X products, you need to look at your blast system and have your hoses properly sized. Properly set up your system and check that your PSI at the nozzle and make sure you're at least at 100. And you'll be able to unlock the full potential of 10X. I know it's a little high for most blasters, and especially if you're going up to a number 8 nozzle, but at about 110 PSI. And then they'll exponentially speed up the speed of the blast. It's very rare to have a media that works very well at higher speeds and achieves more without having the media fracture.
Yeah,
and that's just about the design that you guys put into your different particle shapes.
got it. So make sure that the system's properly sized, clean, dry air, and at least 100 PSI or higher if you want to go faster, and then a good metering valve, right? Solid metering valve. Yeah, we covered everything. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I thank you so much. And I'm really glad you got to try DynamiX before it was released to the world publicly. I think that's awesome. It was validating for us to be able to work with you guys like that. So thank you for doing all that.
I want to, and I know that people watch these videos and they think, oh, he's probably getting plugged by this company. And I just want people, just try it. Call up Jake, call up Ed, call up who you need to call up, and just try it with your setup properly. And I know that people will switch, because everybody that I've been in this industry for a long time, when they tried it, they're running it now. So it's about advancing this industry, and it's about taking these chances with these new products and moving the industry forward and making it safer for everybody. It is a very dangerous industry. And on top of the sandblasting, we're protective coaters as well. So we have danger in everything we do. And to make something a little bit safer, not only for myself using it, but safer for everybody in my facility, it's a no-brainer for me. And by making it safer, you're saving money. So I don't know how to make it any more appealing to anyone other than that.
Well, I think some people, they focus on the quality, and that is the one thing that we can do, right? We can bring quality above everything else out there, and that's a really big deal for some folks. So I thank you so much, Ben.
Absolutely, Jake. Just keep doing what you guys are doing, man. And I appreciate everything.